Hey everyone, welcome to episode 144 of This Week in Marketing Show, also known as the Twim Show. This is your host Sajid Islam, and today I'll be going over the notable news from the week of January 16 to 2023. Also note that there was no episode 143. That's because yours truly was on vacation, and I wanted to do it. Then again, and I got started recording the podcast, and then I just couldn't make myself do it, and I thought, I'm gonna take a break, really take a real break and decompress and focus on that rather than trying to push out an episode when I don't feel like doing it. Anyway, good to be back. I hope you are listening. You had a good week, and if you missed episode 143, then you kind of know the value of the show that I put out, and if so, I would like to hear from you in terms of how I can make this show better. With that, let's dive in. Today, first off, we have Meta or Facebook. They have this new thing called Account Center. I did not know that they have this new thing called Account Center. Before let me finish the Account Center first. The Account Center tool makes it much easier to manage your privacy settings across Facebook, Messenger, and Instagram all in one place. So it essentially makes it easier because again, I don't use Facebook as much as I used to before. Since mid-December, you'd say 2022 is when I kind of checked out of Facebook as well as Instagram. Talk about being in marketing and not being on the social media platforms. The only platform probably where I go every now and then is probably more LinkedIn than anything else, and sometimes I will post on Twitter. Personally, I would post on my personal Instagram. Again, there's nothing really exciting happening there. You don't have to follow it. But where I'm going with this is I did not know this Account Center feature works. I really do not know how this feature works just because I have not been on Facebook. I've used Messenger lately. But, at a surface level, it looks like a great feature where you can control all the three apps from one central location. Again, I would like to kind of see if there's an option to individually tailor. Say, for example, Messenger, you have a different set of permissions than, say, probably Instagram and things like that. But anyway, now there is this tool called Account Center tool that allows you to manage it all from one central location. And maybe this is Facebook's attempt to unify all the settings and then bring it all under one hood, because Instagram used to be a different company. Messenger was kind of added on to Facebook, bolted onto Facebook, and then Facebook was the original Facebook. How this works with Facebook pages and things like that, I do not know. Again, it's beyond my expertise. Next up, also because now that we have now know that there is this thing called Account Center, Meta is also changing the terminology on how many accounts reached for their ad settings, and I guess this kind of also will also shed some lights on how many accounts you have reached on your organic posts. They're not really changing the way the calculation is done or anything like that. They're just saying, okay, what does that really mean? What that basically means is now, if in the past you could have a Facebook account and an Instagram account, and Meta would say, oh, it has reached 2 accounts. Now, if your Facebook and Instagram is connected, then Meta is going to say it's 1 account. Versus, say, if your Instagram and Facebook are not connected, then Meta will still count as 2. Does that really help you a whole lot of stuff? Not really, because now it gets more confusing because you do not know what is what. I wish Meta would actually take the effort to say, here's the number of account we have reached from Facebook. Here's the account we have reached on Instagram. Here is the overlap, right? Here's the number of accounts, the unique accounts on Facebook, unique accounts on Instagram, and here's the overlap. Here's that 20% of these accounts that we have reached are actually connected. That would be a better way insight-wise. But, Facebook is Facebook. They just want to convolute everything. In my opinion, they just want to make things unclear, opaque as much as possible. And I think other platforms are doing the same thing. But really look at it. Wouldn't it be easier? Then you'd be like, we reached so many percentage, but of this percentage, this much is the overlap. So it gives you a better idea for planning and things like that. All these other things that really doesn't help. That's just my 2 cents. Next up, Google is dropping Playable podcast from search results page. In the past, if a podcast came up or a podcast episode came up, you could click on it and still stay on the Google search results page and listen to it and then jump off to somewhere else. Now, if you click on it, it's gonna take you away from that Google search results page into that podcast page. Now, Google is saying this is because they want to improve UI UX. I do not know how much of that is true, because if you look at it, if there's a video from YouTube that still pops up, and you can play it within the search results window and you can jump to somewhere else. I do not know if this is Google's subtle hint of trying to push you to push your podcast into YouTube, which you should be doing anyways. Like this podcast you're listening to right now the same podcast goes to our podcast hosting platform, which is Transistor. And the same podcast is again showing up on YouTube. Now, the only difference between the two is that on YouTube, if you're watching this, you kind of now, I've started to show my face. You get to see me as well as a slide deck. And if you're listening on Transistor, you're just listening to the audio. That's the only thing. But I would definitely highly recommend you publish it in both places until a future time when maybe YouTube comes out with podcast hosting. And talking about YouTube has added these 2 new features where it shows how you are gaining subscriber and views from what type of content. Again, like this goes back to, and I wish I had put this update right after the Meta update on the update around how they're counting users in Account Center, because that would really go gel well, but I should have. Hindsight is a 2020. But coming back, what they're saying is that, look, we want you to understand where are you gaining users from. Okay, how many subscribers are getting from your long form content, from your shorts and lives, and they're going to structure it down so that, it makes it easier for you to say, oh, wow, you know what? I didn't know that our lives are getting so many new subscribers. So maybe I should do more of lives, or maybe reels are not working well. So we should stop doing reels, things like that. So I shouldn't say you reels. It's YouTube is shorts. I confused it, or I jumbled it up. Pardon me for my mix-up. But coming back, so this is something good. Again, the view count is also, they're going to break it down by your content type. Again, by content type they mean your shorts, lives, and long form content, the normal form. That's it. Next up, YouTube is making it easy for pinpointing violations. So for example, I could post a video and in the middle of the video, I use copyrighted music, and that's violating a YouTube policy. So YouTube, instead of just banning the whole thing, the YouTube is going to say, hey, on this video, starting at time marker, say 10 minutes and 2 seconds to 10 minutes and 11 seconds, you have this new copyrighted music, go take care of it. Right. This is good. I like it. And YouTube has been testing this since last year. When it was testing it, I intentionally, and I think it was in September, I intentionally chose not to, share it with you all because it was testing. Now that they're rolling it off, I thought, it's something important enough for you to know. So if you're a creator or your business is creating content and you get a violation, now you know you don't have to dig through it and scratch your head and say, what did we violate? YouTube is going to help you find that out. In other news, Performance Max in Google Ads is now available as experiments. Experiments allow you to do an what if scenario before you apply it. So for example, you could say, hey, you know what? Google is suggesting I do this. Let me run it as an experiment. See if I had moved 20% of my traffic or 30% of my traffic into this thing, would that have given me the result? Would the result be better or less? So Google is giving you experiments. If you're running Google Ads and if you are thinking of Performance Max or you are unhappy, or Google is giving you some recommendation, definitely try out experiments. Not a whole lot of Google Ads professionals know this about experiments, but experiments is one of those ninja trick that you should definitely apply to your account. Now on the SEO front, someone asked, hey John Mueller, or hey Google, would I get dinged if I were to have a site name that is exactly the same as another site name with a different URL? So for example, let's just say we have marketandgrow.com and another site called marketonlinegrow.com, right? Now, would Google frown upon it? Would Google penalize if there are 2 different domains right, at a high level, but they have the same site name, which is Market and Grow Your Business. Market and Grow Your Business. To that, John Mueller says, hey, I do not know if there are any issues from the legal standpoint, like trademark and copycatting, things like that. But in Google's eyes, that's fine. You can do that. Now, in my opinion, why would you want to duplicate the site name of another site unless you own the site and you want to duplicate as a test site and everything like that? But otherwise, I don't see a need for you to duplicate your site name. Unless, of course, you're trying to scam someone or make someone believe that this is the site of Louis Vuitton or Rolex or something like that. But I'm pretty sure in that case, they're a very strong brand with strong lawyers. They're going to come right after you, behind you, with the hammer the size of Thor's hammer and kind of come and hammer you. Now, having said that, this also means that you shouldn't rake your brain for hours and days just to come up with a unique site name. Just put something out there, even if some of it, 20% of it is like an overlap with another brand. Oh, they have watches, we have also watches. That's fine. Don't kill yourself over it. Now, John Mueller have said that, getting dinged by Google quality update may mean more than what you think it is. What he's saying is that, look, if your site gets dinged by quality updates, like means you have thin content or things like, your content isn't good enough, it doesn't follow the EEAT principle, which is something we've covered in our podcast in the past or a show in the past, Google may very well decide that your site is not worthy of crawling in the future, and not, first of all, that's one, and number two, even if it crawls, it's not worthy of indexing it in the future, right? Because John Mueller is being very honest and upfront and saying, look, there's plenty of websites out there, there's a ton of content out there, we don't really have to keep coming back to your site if the content we find is not of good quality or thin or whatever it is. Having said that, folks, if you've been listening to my show for a long time, I've always been pushing and advocating and recommending and suggesting go for good quality content. Stay away from those, people who guarantee you ranking on page 1, top level, like first top 5 results, things like that. It's not worth it. Lastly, the question comes up is, hey, where should you place structured data on your web page, right? And structured data is something, and I've covered plenty of times on the show as they have come up, as they have, Google has announced structured data, and I'm a big advocate for structured data because it really helps. Even though now Google is smart enough that it can pick up things like products on your page and reviews on your page, but you should definitely be going for structured data. It just guarantees you a better result than anything else. So now, having said that, it's like, you can eat without washing your hands. There is a small chance that you might have a stomach bug or fall ill, but the chances of you falling ill is a lot lower if you wash your hands before you eat. I hope that explains the point as to why you need to use structured data. Now, if structured data is something you do not know what it is, or how to use it, things like that, then I would say you have two options. Number one, you can go learn about structured data and SEO on your own instead of running your business, unless of course you're trying to be an aspiring marketing professional, or you can contact an expert and who can help you with that. Now, having said that, John Mueller said, look, it doesn't matter how you place your structured data, whether in a single block or you have it spread out throughout your web page. All it matters is that you have the recommended structured data so that we can pick it up and we can index it and we can crawl it, index it, and make it easier for us to do things. And actually it comes down to one little thing, which is, folks, Google has trillions of web pages and websites that it can and will index. So the lower the processing power you take from Google, the better, in my opinion, it is that Google will index your site or will crawl your site, because Google is like, oh, this is easy, I'm going to go do it. It's always going to go for the low-hanging fruit. So why do you want to make Google's job harder? Because I'm pretty sure, even though Google hasn't said this, but in the back end, Google takes tally. How long did this site take to crawl? How long did this site to index? And how long did we do this parsing? So you want to make it, because if a crawler, a Googlebot comes to your site, it's parsing your website, right? It's analyzing, it's breaking it down, it's run those computation. I'm pretty sure they're tracking that, and that's one of those, in my opinion, that's one of those, hidden algorithm feature or hidden feature that Google uses to decide, hey, should we come back here or not? Okay, with that, folks, that's it for this week in marketing. Now you know everything to be in the know. Talk to you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.